Let me ask my friends on the Democratic side of the aisle, are you prepared to look in the eyes of a kid with disability and explain why you said you are cut out? You're really standing up, raising that objection. That ought to be 100-0. All of us should agree on that.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz's provision for private and homeschool deductions were among those removed by the parliamentarian. Joins us live right now from our nation's capital. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you this morning.
It's great to have you as well. Congratulations on the win last night. So tell us why your provision to allow the 529 money to be used for homeschooling was viewed by the Senate parliamentarian as breaking the Byrd rule.
Well, it's great to be with you. Most of the provision is in there. So that provision is still in there. It's one of the major elements of this legislation. What the Democrats did is they carved out one group. They carved out just homeschoolers, and they cut homeschoolers out. It really was shameful. But the heart of the provision is still in there. And what it does is it takes college 529 savings plans, very popular plans used all over the country, where you can save in a tax-advantaged way for college. And it expands them to K through 12 education. It expands them so that you can use them for public school, for private school, for parochial
Sounds
school,
great.
That's huge,
for religious
yeah.
school. Every parent, every grandparent, up to $10,000 per child per year. It's the most far-reaching federal school choice legislation ever passed, and it's in the bill. It's an amendment I introduced that passed the Senate 50-50. With the vice president breaking the tie.
All right. Well, that's good.
What you just aired was last night the Democrats raised an exception. There was a provision in the bill that also covered the 1.8 million homeschoolers in this country, and the Democrats objected to letting homeschoolers, parents, spend their own money on providing their schooling. I think it was shameful, and it's unfortunate that homeschoolers got cut out by the Democrats.
Senator, why would they? Why have the Democrats said, okay, our red line is homeschoolers?
You know, to be honest, it's because the Democrats have an enormous antipathy towards homeschoolers. We had a process with the parliamentarian arguing this procedural question. I think the parliamentarian was wrong on the procedural question. But the main argument the Democratic staff made against this is they said, well, gosh, 529 plans are really, really popular. People like them a lot. And if you extend them to homeschoolers, well, people are going to be really happy. That's going to make a difference in their lives. And we, the Democrats, don't want to see that happen on this bill, so it needs to be cut out. And unfortunately, the parliamentarian bought that pretty bogus argument.
Well, can you explain, though, what is the cost associated with homeschooling? You wanted it to cover, like, all their school supplies and trips that the moms might take their kids on?
So the entire provision, including the homeschooling provision, was scored at $500 million over 10 years, which in the scheme of tax reform is a relatively modest cost. But the impact is enormous because it's really up to parents. It enables, there are 50 million school kids in America, all across this country, and every single school kid potentially benefits.
Just too much choice for Democrats.
Senator, are you suggesting the Democrats were against that part because that would go against the teachers' unions?
Undoubtedly, and the Democrats' view is they want control. They want control over everything, whether it is control over regulating an industry, control over the internet, or in this instance, control in how you educate your students. And the reason the Democrats don't like homeschoolers is if you're spending the time, investing the time at home to teach your kids, they can't mandate what you're teaching them, and they believe in centralized control. You know, Republicans, we believe in freedom. We believe parents know best what's for their kids. And the beauty of this amendment that is now part of tax reform is it lets you, the parent, decide what schooling is best for your child. You can decide and you can save to provide for your child. It's an enormous and I think very impactful
And it gives
reform.
people a tax break, because what I hear complaints from friends that have kids in private schools, they're paying the state, they're paying their local taxes. So they're paying for the schools even though their kids aren't going there. So this allows them to pay for their private schools without paying the taxes, correct?
That's exactly right. And you've got, for example, a lot of inner city kids. You have Hispanic children and African American children in families that are struggling economically, but are nonetheless going to parochial schools. They're scraping their pennies together to go to parochial schools to try to get a better education, to get hope and opportunity. This now provides a vehicle to make it easier for those parents who are struggling to afford that.
Overall, regarding the tax cut bill, I've got to ask you this. Not a single Democrat senator voted for it. You're friends with a lot of the people on the other side of the aisle. Did any of them tell you, you know, I'd like to vote for it, but Chuck Schumer won't let me?
You know, they didn't say that. I think Senate Democrats right now, they have gone so extreme and so far to the left that they're listening to their radical left-wing base. They're listening to their base that hates President Trump with a white-hot passion. And the left base is demanding resist, oppose, filibuster, obstruct, and every Senate Democrat is doing that. You know, tax reform has always been bipartisan. When Ronald Reagan passed tax reform in 81 and 86, you had Tip O'Neill, a Democrat, as Speaker of the House. You had then a conservative Democrat, Phil Graham, in the House carrying the bill. You had Bill Bradley, a liberal Democrat, in the Senate helping lead support for the bill.
Wait, did you say
in the House of Representatives,
Democrat?
we had 0 Democrats. In the Senate, we had 0 Democrats. You know, you asked, no, there are no conservative Democrats left. Even the senators who pretend to be conservative Democrats, they are voting identically to Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Those are the leaders of today's Democratic parties.
Okay.
Well said.
Well, Senator Cruz, thank you so much.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas.